Ah! Where's my hand? Ah! Yeah. Well, this is gonna be huge. Only 2 links in. And I probably have to move all the way over here on my dirty carpet for this tail. Yeah, there's a long way to go. Alright, so I let this dry last night. Here is the belt and groin section. I use super soft foam. It still needs to be patched up in spots, but it's ridiculously flexible. It always goes back to shape. It doesn't tear. And it's stretchy. Alright, here is the back. The main, let's see, 7 spikes. I still have to do the 2 large ones. I coated them in glue last night, and they... pretty good. I scratched a little bit of glue right there, but that's what another coat's for. I also gotta add a little bit more sanding here and there just to get off a couple bubbles. It's a little bit right about here. It's a little bubbling right here. Yeah, just a little hand sanding, maybe a little bit of water, and that'll fix right up. I'll add the 2 large spikes down here in the middle. And I think tonight I'm going to work on the newest section of the tail right about here. Alright, time to get to work. Okay, so I started the first section of the tail. Now, it sits out a little far for right now. I've even marked this little notch to where I'll probably trim this in. This little tube system will run through every single one. And I don't run entirely through, it's just in sections. So, when each vertebrae links up, they'll actually have a little leeway. I'll run a little wire running through each one, all the way into the base of the butt. That way, the whole tail can sway and lift and just articulate just a little bit. That way it doesn't have a lot of weak points. Wasn't much of a build today. All I used was a little trim for the EVA sheets, some 1/2-inch pecks, and made a tailpiece. This is the largest one. This is just an overplate, and then there's a amount of foam going underneath the super soft foam. And then right in about here, I am doing a pool noodle as the core for the entire tail. I'll probably fill in the space around the actual noodle so the tail links are actually locked in place with that little bit of tethering on the bottom and possibly here on the sides. I'm just brainstorming this right now. Here goes. So here's the head. Neck still is going to get reworked, but head going down to body, chest, spikes on the back, and then the tail. This tail is enormous, and I still have to do a 2.5-foot cap at the end to be a solid piece as an anchor. Mechagodzilla. So here's my Mechagodzilla tail. I just got all 8 pieces done, except for the cap that'll probably reach down to right about here anyway, which is only a 1.5 foot increase. But right now, this tail is 4 feet long. As a Red Bull can for scale. 4 feet long, without the separation segments attached. This thing's going to be massive. Possibly up to 7 feet once I've done all the separations. Well, back to work. Alright. It may not look like much, but I did all 4 spikes on the back of Kiryu. He has 2 very large ones coming off the back. I have to redo an inner support slit to hold both of them. One actually may bridge over into another section of armor. I've also started to coat these 4 in PVA and Elmer's glue. Actually, they're kind of the same, Elmer's and wood glue. But I have coated both of them on here as right now. This should actually do 2 coats just like that because it was so thick of a product. We'll see how it looks in the morning. Alright, so I templated out today the shin pieces. I even started to actually build them. There's only small details. There's this raised plate right here. There are 2 small bolts that go on either side. And then there are 2 little notches that go right about here. And then there are 2 strips that run completely down this way as well. Then there's a back strip that runs completely down, and it's completely flat compared to these pieces, which are curved and a little faceted. So I'm going to work on these first, and you actually have to get ready for work. But this is what I've got done today. I mapped these out. I did on the lower half, it looks like a mess from here, I did the section that joins, that joins from the shin and the thigh together. So I'll have one concluded piece, and then I'll do the feet, which are hidden in this room. I don't want anyone to see them entirely yet. The tail is pretty much ready for paint. I need to pick up black Plastidip before I do that. But this is what I've done today. Alright, I templated the thighs last night. Let's give you a tour. This is the side. There's a little ball rise right here. And then it turns over. And then we have the front, which this is a tube that leads to a pipe that leads up to the hip lining. And it plugs in together. Secretly, I'll probably put all my straps underneath and through it. And then it goes all the way around. I have a little lowered edge. It's only lowered in by maybe 1/4 of an inch. Maybe 1/8. And then the back side. I gotta apply a little more heat to put a little less stress on this section. And then I'll start doing a little paneling right here with some studding. Probably do a little piece that caps over right there, but that's easy to do. Ta-da! I have a thigh plate. Actually, 2. I finally did it. Here is the full Mechagodzilla tail. And the pool noodle that I'll probably use as the base. Maybe not. We'll figure that out. That's tomorrow. But other than this last little cable link, which needs to be attached right here, and then sanding done here, this thing's ready for paint. It is 6.5 feet long. I may need a spotter. Alright, so today I sealed and sanded and cleaned up these thigh plates. There's a lot of bubbles in the foam, so I had to go through and fill each dot. There's still a couple spots I want to actually fill in a little bit more, but I got the general gist of it. I also did the tube details, which is basically a 1.5-inch PVC pipe, and then I came in and added in fittings to actually hide the tubing or the strapping that I'll put in here, and just put 1/4-inch EVA over top. The fitting actually was a lot smaller, so I ended up wrapping it in 1/4-inch EVA. I'll glue the whole thing in, and it'll be in there pretty good. But yeah, sealed all the way around. That's why it looks so streaky. And I also came in on the membrane for the cod piece and added a whole extra layer in there. That way it doesn't break seal and you never see me. It'll sit just about like so on there. Probably a lot lower, but it'll match up pretty well on there. Both are set. Tail is ready to be sealed for each one of its spikes as they're sanded down already. And the head is kind of thrown on there on mock. I want to see how the jaw is going to set before I attach it. And then I'll redo the neck. Alright, that's it for today. So, I am attaching the thigh plates to the groin piece. And I had the worst time actually gluing this on. It literally would fall off. It's too heavy to actually just hold there for the entire thing. It's about 36 inches around all the way through. So that's just way too many contact points to glue. So I tried sewing it together with fishing line, and I tried masking taping together. But ultimately, my decision was dozens and dozens of toothpicks to actually pin the two together so I can glue it all the way around. And it's holding just me picking it up. The inside is just littered with them. The inside is really rough. I still want to add another layer just for cohesion and actually make sure everything is holding together very well. I'll probably get Foam Fast 74 just to spray contact that rather than hot glue the hell out of this thing. But this thing's holding together really well right now. I've glued most along here. So it should be set, ready to go. I'll have the second one done and attached in probably the next hour.
Yep.
Motion test. Decapitation. Sorry, stop. So I just constructed the feet.
Yeah.
And let's do a test walk. It feels a bit funny when the tips of the claws touch the floor on that step, but it's easiest just to pick up and put down. But usually on the pickup I can feel them drag. But only lightly. They're in there. Alright, it is 1 a.m. and the tail has all of its coats ready, primed, sealed for paint. This is almost 7 feet long. That's a little foam. That's a little strip of EVA foam on the table. Nothing sticking off. But yeah, all ready? I'm excited. This thing is going to be monstrous. Alright, until later today. Alright, so I'm going to test out how these legs look. I think I just cracked one of the toes off, which absolutely sucks. But I fit the shins on there and loosely just put my feet into the shoes. The tail actually has a way of actually applying on. And here's how everything looks so far, except for my hair, which looks terrible. Got thigh plates loaded on, knee plates almost fully in section and lining, shin plates which are unpainted, and then the feet. And then for the both sides. Okay, I'm going to put the camera probably right about here. There's a little limitation right here in the movement for the knee. I could probably trim back right here. to help fix that. But that's easy to do. I gotta patch up this back section of the ankle, but for the most part, I can move in it pretty damn well. So, also my compression clothes came in the mail, so this is nice and comfortable and cooling, and I have no extra clothing to sag or hang when I try to put on these legs. So, here is my Mechagodzilla. Hello. Well, I decided to test the armor without the arms and tail. I require assistance for that. But it's kind of haphazardly thrown on the head and everything else. The feet aren't entirely constructed. I have to do the back of the ankle, and that's it. Other than paint, which takes probably about 2 hours. So, I'm going to set the camera down and barely hold on to this head because it's not snapped in. Put this right on the bridge. I have no idea if I've lost toes in trying to reach both my camera and the head, as they were on opposite ends of the apartment. But, let's see if I can snap this in real quick. I think I need to trim a little bit in the back of the neck because one of these spikes in the back of the head is blocking the neck from snapping in. But, leg movement. I still feel a few adjustments I could do to simplify leg movement, but mainly the problem is in the connection of the ankle and the feet. And jazz hands.